What's up, peers, and welcome to Bitcoin. Not Bitcoin to the max, the show open source everything here live on the World Crypto Network. So much content going on, you get confused with the titles. We've talked the last couple times here on the show about Lightning Network and all the amazing possibilities that we have with it. And we have talked about the Satoshi's House, which is a Lightning development co-working space hub. We've also talked to Satoshi's Games, so gaming with Lightning. And today we're going to talk about drinking with Lightning. So coffee and beer and everything else that is going on. Because we are going to talk today to the developers of the Bitcoin beer tap right here from the Puzzles open source development company. Draw yourself your own beer. We're over the Lightning Network. So this sounds and looks really amazing. We're joined by, there you are. We're joined by Gabriel and Thomas. What's up, guys?
Hi, guys.
Hi. So this is Thomas.
I'm
I'm Gabriel. I think. Okay, this is a bit too late. Yeah. No. Okay. Now we're here. Okay. So. Yeah, that's right. We're Puzzle ITC. We're a team of 5 people. Like the Lightning team is 5 people, and Thomas is our newest member. So yeah, we're trying to stay reckless and bring some cool stuff out for you guys.
Yes, and beer and coffee.
Beer and coffee. What else could we want with the Bitcoin Lightning Network? So maybe let's talk for a little bit about the Puzzles ITC, which is just go about what is this company all about and what are your core principles, your core focus?
Yeah, so while most Bitcoin and Lightning companies are startups that only do Bitcoin or Lightning, we actually don't. So Puzzle ITC was created 20 years ago, and we are very much into open source development. So for the ones who know, they will understand this here. And yeah, so we are now 120 employees, and we are all into open source software, and Lightning is just one project of these, and it's actually the newest. And yeah, we're trying to build to help build the network and get some merchant adoption onto Lightning. So we're really excited about this.
Yes, we are. I mean, I'm new, so one thing that attracted me to this company is this Lightning project. But once I started getting into it, seeing how they handle open source, their motto is we use it, so we should give back to the community. I really like this message, and I'm convinced now more than ever that I did the right choice to leave my old company to come here. And and we also pay an amount of the salary in Bitcoin, so that's a plus. So I hope the Bitcoin price goes down, so I get more.
That's right.
Yes.
Those that truly hodl and accumulate Bitcoin, they are actually quite happy over the low price.
Do that.
It could go lower.
Exactly. So I really like this open source focus for Puzzle ITC, and especially the contribution attribute, right? That you realize that if it's open source software and you're using it, well, it's your responsibility to make sure it's good software and that people are working on it. And so what are the projects that Puzzles in general is working on, and not specifically the Lightning stuff?
So first, let me say something else about another project. So he was speaking about that we have a salary in Bitcoin if we choose to. This was actually our first Bitcoin-related project to build up this tool that allows us to, send the money to the customers, to the employees. And this is also open source. So you can find it on the Puzzle ITC GitHub, and it's called Marina. So yeah.
And one of the most recent open source contribution we did, most notable for me is our colleague Oliver Guger. He is a contributor to the LND open source project. He's in the meanwhile, from when he started, he's become like a guru of macaroons. He has this crazy idea like, I can generate a macaroon and then I can give this macaroon to a company that wants to get money from me. And with this macaroon, they can generate an invoice on my node only once per month and only maximum this amount. So he has like these crazy ideas. And yeah, he's unluckily not with us today. He had other stuff to do.
Yeah, he's very busy. Since Lightning, he has gotten very busy.
Yeah.
But other projects of Puzzle ITC, so it's really like many different things. So we focus on Java and on Ruby. So that's like where we are technically located. But the projects are very different. We have a lot of customers in the railway business, which is a huge thing in Switzerland. We are famous for our railways, and yeah, we didn't even say that we're located in Bern, Switzerland. So no, we didn't.
The most beautiful city in Switzerland.
Yeah, and that
fight me.
Okay, and so yeah, that's like the biggest thing. But then there are others, like it started with actually online dating. That was the first project, and now we have all sorts of things. Also, I'm working also at a sports platform for, like that's from the Swiss state to support young people doing sport, and so yeah, all sorts of projects.
Really cool. And you talked to me about this before. I really like the approach that Puzzles, the company, gives you of working on some of your own projects. So Gabriel, you were one of the pioneers about this Lightning project here internally at Puzzles. And what was your experience of suggesting this new business model for the company?
Well, actually, it wasn't me. So we are both quite new in this enterprise, and I think it was not twofold. It was not by accident that Puzzle ITC decided to pay in Bitcoin and to work on Lightning. So so that actually started already before I was here. But yeah, the idea, it's Puzzle really tries to be innovative, and if you have like a very top-down structure, that is very hard. So most IT companies, they try to have a flat hierarchy to allow for innovation, and Puzzle does exactly that. And we have the possibility, if we have an interest in a project and want to work on it, like it was the case with Lightning, we can propose it, and then if enough people are interested in it, we can actually get a budget and start working on it. So that's how we've gotten into Lightning. It was just us loving the development and like seeing how the Lightning network grows and wanting to be part of it. Yeah.
Okay, and of course you have already built a couple of really cool apps, and one of them is the point of sale system, right? The self-ordering point. And we have already talked about this a bit in Prague, but could you maybe just elaborate a little bit more on how it works in general, and then we can get a bit more in depth later.
Should I go?
Yeah.
Okay. We had to solve a problem. We had a screen that wasn't a touch screen behind a glass, and we needed to be able to order something without interaction. So the easiest way, or the way that Oliver Guger taught, was to just display some invoices that you could like pay if you wanted to buy the product. So you don't need interaction with the screen. apart from scanning the QR code. And this scanning of the QR code then tells the system that this item was bought. It displays you a name that you have to spell out to the cashier or the baristas, and then they will give you the product you bought. So without much interaction, you can buy, and it's today it only works for one item at a time. So if you want to buy 3 items, I suggest to go to the shop, to the online shop. But for just one bloccacino or something like that, you just buy it, you go in, and then it's ready. And they will smile at you because it's something new. They're really happy to do bloccacinos. Yeah, I think that was the revolutionary idea, or the new idea, more than revolutionary. Yeah, I like this approach because it's a little bit of thinking out of the box, because we have lots of problems that we didn't have with the usual retail. Also the problem of channels. You have to make sure this channel are funded, otherwise the shop cannot get the money. You have to monitor the state of the Lightning Network, if the node is up to date and synced correctly, and there's lots of problematics that are new for us. Probably there are people that are experienced at it, but for us it's quite new.
Yeah, and for the shop itself, the thing they probably appreciated the most was the hype it generated for them. So, suddenly this small coffee is talked about in all over the world, and people were coming there from even Israel. The shop owner told us, just to try this new technology, and people are so excited about it, and so that was really a big thing for them. And also we've now have I don't even know, around like 200 purchases or even more, so 200 and growing, and that's very surprising also to us, that people really want to get to play with Lightning and Bitcoin. So
Wow, already 200 sales. That is quite a lot, and interesting that they realize that these are early entrepreneurs, right? Early adopters, and they have a huge upside, including but not limited to the entire marketing push of being first, right? So that is really nice. And I do like one little hack around that you have here with the 2 words that are being displayed after the payment it has been received, which can then be set to the barista, and the bloccacino can be picked up from the counter. Because the inherent bug, or I would probably say feature, is that the Lightning Network is rather private. And when you receive a payment, you don't necessarily know who sent it to you. So are there ways of proving payments and the sending of payments with the Lightning Network?
I mean, there is a way to send messages along with the Lightning Network. In fact,
but you cannot be sure that I'm me. I mean, I could say I'm,
so
I don't know, Mr. Coffee Cup, and then when I come and say Mr. Coffee Cup, they will give me what I bought, and that's I think it's the plus of the whole thing.
So the thing is, if you want to stay anonymous and have your privacy, then you can. However, you can also, like every node is basically has an ID, which is their public key. So you can sign your messages with your public key. So then we would know like which ID has sent which node has sent the message. So I think that could be promising also, like for kind of to work as an ID if you want to.
I would disagree. When I pay with cash,
okay.
When I pay with but when I pay with cash, I don't want to say hi, and I'm Thomas. I live there, so please give me the stuff. No, I just want to give them money and get my coffee.
I mean, that's the great thing about it, right?
Yeah.
You can stay as private as you stay with cash, almost.
Yeah.
But if you would like to, you could also sign it with your public key.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's yeah. It's optional.
And that is an inherent part of Bitcoin being a bearer instrument, right? A bearer asset. On the base layer, if you control the private key that is at the tip of the longest or of the chain of signatures that represent this UTXO, well, then it's yours, and you do not owe it to someone, and nobody really cares who you are. If you have the private key, well, it's yours. And then when you make a transaction, pushing this UTXO to a new set of private public keys, well, then the controller of this private key pair is the true owner and controller of, well, now the lights went off. And the same is true for Lightning, right? You have a shifting state of the UTXO in the multi-sig that is, again, corresponded to the two private keys from Alice and Bob in this payment channel, and then updated with the hash time lock contract. But again, here it's digital signatures proving that you control this asset and you don't need any further identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody can say, oh, no, these are not your Bitcoins anymore. Give them to me.
Absolutely. And sorry, a switch of a topic, but that I actually wanted to add before to what Thomas said, like that, we're new with this in this Lightning space, and it was rather, complicated also to us. I would also like to point out how surprising everything actually worked. Like we're still in beta, and this, like the big development really started this year in 2018, and it's kind of ironic to see what are really the big problems for us with building all this infrastructure. While Lightning really works kind of nice, we have big problems with the Wi-Fi where the shop is, that the Wi-Fi doesn't really connect. We have problems with reflection on the glass from the shop, so you cannot really scan the QR code sometimes. And when we built the beer tap, the biggest problem was that how we would attach the gas tank to the beer tap. So it's really amazing to me that how complicated the whole Lightning network is in the back, but it works rather nicely. So yeah, that's a really nice work from the Lightning developers there. So.
Yes, and realization that although we have this beautiful technology of the Lightning Network, right, a great tool, it is still only one tool in our arsenal, and there needs to be a lot of the infrastructure set up around this tool. Just like a car is completely useless if you don't have paved roads, right? If you're running on a field, then a car is not going to be good. A horse is going to be a much better means of transportation. And the same is true with the Lightning Network. It is a beautiful piece of technology, but it needs the infrastructure, it needs the mindset, it needs the know-how and education of the surrounding and using entrepreneurs and actors in the economy, so that it is truly useful. Quite interesting.
Yeah, that is very important, and we are really, pushing there with, like, our shop is only accepting Lightning, so we really want to try to get the people onto Lightning. And we were even thinking now, like, if we would make a workshop or something where we would set up a Lightning node, like with the Raspberry Pi, so a Raspberry Bolt or a Raspberry Blitz, together with the local community we have here. So of course, it's a network. The most important things are the peers of the network, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. As not protocol developer, I think our main focus at the moment is building stuff around Lightning. I don't feel confident meddling with the protocol. My levels of mathematics and cryptography are too low, if not existent. But I know I can develop a web app, and I know how to interface with a Lightning node. that are the skills that I need. But I still think the main problem right now is getting the people on board, like making them understand how to open a Lightning channel. What does it mean? These are complicated stuff that I think should be transparent to the user, and we still have to work on it. And yeah, but it can become something beautiful.
Yeah, and people really need to get used to it, because there's also some things that might seem very weird to a user, like, for example, that funds can be locked up, right? That you have to open channels, and maybe, that could be solved by the autopilot, but still you don't even know, even the problem is what amount of Bitcoin do you display in a user wallet, because you can, maybe you have some satoshis there that you cannot spend, because they are either locked up in a HTLC, or you cannot spend the whole balance of your channel, right? You have a reserve of around 1% or something that you have to keep, because if you spend all the money of your channel, the other, like your peer, could easily then cheat, because or like you could cheat in this case, because you have nothing at stake anymore. I mean, if all the money is pushed to Thomas' side and I don't have no money anymore, then I could cheat. That's what I want to say later on. Yeah.
But I think you still need to keep a little amount of the channel so that you can settle the transaction, like to pay the fees and stuff.
Yes, that's another issue.
Yeah. As you see, no protocol developer. So speculation.
Yeah, I mean, with the fees right now, that is a problem. I'm not sure who pays the fees, but that's something that would get better. Like if it's the founder of the channel or the one who wants to close. Actually, I don't know that, but with L2, it should get better, because like an issue is also like how high should the fee be, right? If I want to have a very low fee because I don't want to spend money, and I have a channel with Thomas and he wants me, like he says like, oh no, that fee is too low. It wouldn't get to the blockchain in time, right? So we need to agree on what fee we are going to use. And I heard from a video from Chain Code Labs that, I don't know who was saying it, Alex Bosworth or somebody, that right now it's about 90% of the channels are being closed just because of a disagreement in fees. So with L2, this will change, because the fee part will be kind of be in a separate transaction. Well, it's still the same Bitcoin transaction, but you can sign it with separately somehow, right? So
with another input transaction.
With another input, yeah. Exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Complicated.
Yeah, complicated, right? And it just shows again how interesting L2 is. It really does change a lot, and it does solve a lot of the interesting problems. Maybe as a brief explanation of the two, in the current implementation of the Lightning Network, then you have a punishing transaction if you try to cheat, and if you try to take money back that you have previously sent over the payment channel. So if you try to take money back, the other party can issue a penalty transaction, which gives the victim, the person that was attacked, all the funds, full funds, right? And this is a nice game theoretical model, but it's not a cryptographic certainty. And especially, and like Peter Todd's aspect on that during the Lightning Hack Day, especially you have to be active in order to claim and to defend yourself with the publishing of the penalty transaction. L2 here is fundamentally different. The changing of the state in the Lightning Network payment channel differs in a sense that now with the sending of Bitcoin inside this payment channel, you completely revoke all the previous UTXOs or changes to the UTXO in a sense that they can no longer be published. They are simply invalid. And only the most recent update to the payment channel is the one valid transaction that is valid and can thus be published. So it is no longer a penalty-based system, but now it is enforced by cryptography and mathematics. So where are some of the other implementations here for L2, and why are we also excited and waiting until L2 comes?
Well, first of all, it's funny that you mentioned Peter Todd kind of like being positive about L2 at the Lightning Hack Day. In fact, he is rather concerned about L2 because he thinks there's no incentive not to cheat anymore with L2. So I've spoken with him, and also his talk was, like he was rather skeptic about it, which I really appreciate. Like Peter Todd has really some nice skepticism that he brings into a community, which is, just excited and wants to build. So that's very healthy there.
Yeah, but Peter Todd is though heartbreaking. And he always it brings you down on the level. For example, he completely destroyed all my dreams of having a universal block time, and completely moving away from the 24-hour based stupid time zone mechanism. But we need it in order to readjust every 2 weeks for the 10-minute block time and this external time reference we needed. And he broke my heart with that. But yeah, he's skeptical. That's good though.
Yeah, right. I think if you compare it to some other coins, we have quite a bit of skepticism, ourselves, like the Bitcoiners ourselves. We are very skeptic with Bitcoin, and I think that's a very healthy sign, of being open-minded and not just like close your eyes and go for your beloved coin. So yeah. But L2, yeah, I mean, you were asking like what other benefits there would be. So one of them, of course, is what we just said with the fees, that there doesn't have to be an agreement in what fees we're going to use, but the one who wants to close a channel will be the one who pays the fees with L2, and he can do it because it's with a separate input. Exactly. And then there is, Watchtowers will get much more easy with L2 because you can outsource just they just need the last transaction, basically the last channel state. And with that, they can save your ass, basically. But with right now a Watchtower, if somebody were to implement one, they need to keep for every channel state. They need to keep the date of they need to keep data like the revocation key and stuff. So yeah, it's much more difficult now to build Watchtowers. Something I think we really need for the end users, because you cannot, have them go to vacation for 2 weeks and then half of their money is gone. So
yeah, and also the mobile users will finally be able to receive transaction. And you cannot expect the normal user to have a node that is always online.
Yeah,
that's also
right.
And that's also a problem we didn't have with normal money. You don't need to be always aware of the state of your bag of cash.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have it with Bitcoin either. So that's really a new challenge that comes with Lightning. So yeah.
Well, the cool thing with Bitcoin on-chain is that everyone knows your current state, and everyone is saving a copy and verifying. So you, as an individual user, don't necessarily and need to store a copy of the current state, you can outsource that to other full nodes. And you yourself would be running a SPV node maybe on your phone, right?
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
with Lightning, right, there's again a shift. Nobody knows your state. The state inside your payment channel, you change that with your state partner, channel partner, and this is an inherent trade-off, right? It is much more private, but of course it gives you the only copy of the current state, and if you lose that, well, then you're fucked. You lost your money.
I think there was a proposition to, I don't know if it's implemented or not, that you could ask the state to your channel partner at any time. So if we would give you like an older state, you could say, no, you tried to cheat because you have the newer state. And yeah, I think that would allow you to recover the state if you can count on the fact that each time you ask the state, you get the newer one or the newest one. But if the other guy knows that you were offline and you may have lost the state, he could give you like an older state. But it's
Right.
Yeah. I don't remember the name. It was required for the Lightning wallet on Android, the one with the thingy. Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't follow. Sorry. I was looking at the chat.
No. Yeah. But also that you have to be aware not only of your private key, but also of your state.
Yeah.
Because if
that's
you lose your state, then it's over. You lost your money.
Yeah.
And then in order to prevent that, we need a device that is almost always connected to the network. And of course, our mobile phones are quite common to be online almost 24/7. But they are not often connected to the internet for the entire time, and might be easy to block and expel from the network for a short period of time. And that's why projects like the Raspberry Blitz is quite interesting, which is basically a Raspberry Pi that can be connected directly to the Wi-Fi router and be this always-on device, and used to not only store the Bitcoin blockchain, but also the Lightning implementation with the current state. So what was your experience working with the Raspberry Pi Blitz?
So I do run one of these. It is, though, not a Raspberry Blitz, but a Raspberry Bolt. So the difference is, so those are two different like guides, basically. And the first one was a Raspberry Bolt. And it is this. The difference is that it's more complicated. Like you do more stuff, but you there have the possibility to configure a lot. While the idea behind Raspberry Blitz was to take a Raspberry Bolt and make a lot of like automate the setup in a big way. So if you want to set up a Raspberry Blitz, you're going to be much faster. But I was more interested in understanding what I'm doing and learning in the process. So that's why I have built myself a Raspberry Bolt. Now my experience was it takes quite a bit of time, but it's it's very well written, and you can follow. If you know a little bit of Linux, it will be easy. And for me, a problem that probably many people have is that I'm sitting behind a firewall and a NAT. And what you can do is open the ports, of course. But what I did is that I run both my Bitcoin client and the Lightning node over Tor. So then, Tor pushes through the firewall, and it does that by creating an outbound connection instead of having an inbound connection because inbound connection usually are blocked. So yeah, but my experience with Tor, even though it works nicely and I love it, there is one big drawback there, and that is that even for now, non-Tor nodes cannot open a connection to your Tor node. So if I run a Tor node and Thomas wants to open a channel with me, I first have to connect to him. And as soon as we have a connection, he could open a channel to me. But if I'm not connecting to him, he does not have the possibility himself to open a channel with me, except for if he's running a Tor node too. So yeah.
But I'm not.
But he's not.
I should.
You should.
We're still very few.
But everybody should. Theoretically, everybody
exactly.
should.
I think it's very important.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're really promoting and like saying to the world, if you run a Lightning node, is you say, hey, look at me. I have this much Bitcoin, and they stay here on this machine probably for a long time because I want to. Why would you open a Lightning node? Because you want to move the funds tomorrow? I don't think so. And then you give them your IP address and you tell them, if you want to attack me, here I am, right?
Yeah.
So Tor is huge there. I think it's really a necessity for everyone. And I hope we will get to the point where Tor is the default for the Lightning Network. And then then your message changes. You still say, I have this much amount of money locked in for a long time, but I don't tell you neither who I am nor where I am. So that's a big benefit there. And also, we are thinking about giving our customers a box, like a Lightning box, there, like a Casa node or something, or a Raspberry Blitz or Raspberry Bolt. There are many implementations out there already. So, but then we always have the problem, we don't control the customer's network. So probably they have NAT and a firewall that we have to deal with. And with Tor, we really can circumvent this and just put our node in there and let it run over Tor, and it will just magically work. So yeah, no matter whether there's a port blocked or not. I mean, the outbound ports have to be open for Tor, of course, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think you talked about giving the customers a Casa hole or a Raspberry Bolt, Raspberry Blitz, but I don't know if it's enough, because I think you need lots of education to educate the customer about what are your duties as a Lightning node owner. Because
true,
right now we don't have an autopilot. You have to pay attention on your channels. You have to monitor them. Look if your partner is misbehaving or if he's almost always offline. It's not a good channel. So either it will be done automatically, or you get used to control your nodes. But I think we should go on the automatic side of the thing.
I mean, it's also important that you have multiple channels open. If you just open one channel, there you have a single point of failure, right? If this node is offline, well, you cannot receive any payments anymore. What I thought was rather interesting, though, is that when we opened this point of sale, after it went viral on Twitter, we had 10 to 15 inbound channels. So people really helped us by connecting to our node. So
yeah, our plan was
it was really working. We didn't have to do anything even. So
our plan was we open a node and we open a big channel with them. So and then we advertise our node so people can connect to us. We do a really low fee or zero fee. And then people can buy a coffee. so they wouldn't have a problem with inbound liquidity. And but then, yeah, people started opening channel directly to them, and it was quite interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, really cool, and especially the aspect that this is a new network on top of Bitcoin. Right, you need to be part of this network in order to play, right? In order to send Lightning transactions, and this, it's curious to see where this network effect goes. If Lightning can piggyback off the network effect of Bitcoin and make sure that this new payment system is actually used by several people. Now, Gabriel, you said that when you have a Tor node that you that Thomas cannot open a payment channel because he is running a non-Tor node. Is this just for this direct payment channel? And is it possible to send via routing a pay from a non-Tor node to a Tor node?
Yes. So you have to make the difference there between establishing a connection and opening a channel. So what he cannot do is establish a connection with me because he doesn't speak the Tor protocol, right? But if I make a connection to him, then he is just connected to the last node, like to the last computer in the Tor network, and he doesn't. For him, then it doesn't make a difference what happens afterwards. He is just connected to another computer than mine, basically. So, but bottom line, if I create a connection with him, he can then open a channel with me. As soon as I establish the connection, everything works fine. Everything works as expected. So he can then open a channel with me, and he can also route payments through my node. And he can pay me and I can pay him, and
So if you already have a channel open with somebody that's connected with somebody not on the Tor network, I can still route a channel through you.
If what?
If there's a way outside of our direct channel, I can still pay you.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. So yeah, it's just about establishing connections, and that is, that's the cost so far for enjoying privacy. You guys know it. It's always a trade-off between comfortability and privacy, and security. So yeah, but I found some way of a workaround also. So my problem is with this node, I would have very little inbound capacity, right? Because nobody opens a channel with this node. But what you actually can do is you can you can resolve this problem yourself by opening channels and then pushing the amount to the other side, and by either buying something, or maybe this other node would allow you to do a submarine swap to get money on chain back, right? So I actually did this with zigzag.io. So I opened the channel to them, and then they allow you to send them a Lightning payment, and they send you the same money back on chain. So now I have an inbound capacity from their node, right? And as soon as you have inbound capacity, you can then move the funds around yourself, go a different route, send the payment here and let it come back to you here. So then you can move the balances of the channel, which I didn't do yet though, but it should be technically possible. Yeah.
And having this inbound connection is quite important, because if you only push money through this network, well, eventually you're going to run out, right? You need to have cash flow coming in. You need to have payments that you receive for your goods and services. And I think a nice way of doing this is for employees, right? People that are receiving a salary every week, every month, or with Lightning maybe every minute, that they have transactions coming into them so that they have outbound capacity again. And you said that you are working on, or that you have been working on a Bitcoin on-chain salary system. Where do you think are the possibilities for doing this with Lightning Network?
It's for sure possible, but we don't have the infrastructure. I mean, we have the node, with the big Lightning node, with lots of liquidity. The problem is also I would need to have I would need to spend my Lightning liquidity first before I get like my salary paid in Lightning. I wouldn't be able to receive Lightning or Bitcoin on Lightning if my channel was already all balanced on my side.
That's right. But what we could do, and what we actually plan to do, is, paying an on-chain transaction, but use this on-chain transaction to actually create a channel. So we would then, if I were the company and I would like to pay Thomas, we would send him we would open a channel, but push all the funds to his side. So he can then spend this money through the Lightning Network, having already established a Lightning channel.
But that would still be like an on-chain transaction.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or we could also do like a hybrid thing, like we fill up, or we push all the amount on all the channels on our side back to our node, and the rest we pay on chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But generally, we do have a problem there with the flow of the money, right? So we have on one side, we have the like us employees, and what we're really interested in is
Bitcoin.
Buying some fancy stuff and paying, right?
No.
And on the other hand, we have the shop, which is really basically interested in receiving payments. Now, as long as this network still is rather small, it's kind of difficult. I mean, at some point, if we get bigger, then maybe the coffee shop could, send the money on and by buying his coffee beans over Lightning or stuff. But for now, it really stops there. So we need to somehow manually, check that there is inbound capacity for the shop. And so that's still something we are working on also. So what we could do is settle money for the shop online and so basically what we could do is, instead of on-chain sending money to Thomas as a company, we could send an on-chain transaction to the shop and telling him like to push the money back to channel to our employees. So we would there solve two problems at once. One of it being that our shops are not as reckless as we are yet, because they need some security, which the Lightning Network maybe cannot provide yet. So they want to have most of the funds on chain. And so we could solve this problem, and in the same time we could, solve the problem of pushing back the money in the Lightning Network from the shop to the employees.
To buy the next Blockachinos.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're kind of addicted to these Blockachinos. They're really good. Come and check them out.
Yeah. And it's really close to the train station. And in Switzerland, if you don't know it, in the train station at every ticket shop, you can buy Bitcoins. So you can go off the train, go to the Bitcoin machine, buy your Bitcoin, walk to the coffee shop, then wait 60 minutes until your channel is open, and then buy your coffee.
Or even easier, you're a good developer. You want to do something with a Bitcoin-friendly company. come work for us and you'll get your salary in Bitcoin,
Yes.
or part of it at least.
Well, and hopefully part of it in Lightning soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in
Oh,
the
yeah.
future, yes.
In fact, that was the initial plan when we started, with this software, like with the Marina, the system to pay the employees.
Which is
first,
open source.
which is open source also. I think I mentioned that it's on
Yeah.
our GitHub, Puzzle ITC. The initial plan was to do that over Lightning already. So what I just explained with opening channels on chain and then making, so that our employees have all open channels in Lightning automatically. But we're still working on that. We first, need to have a node for every employee that wants to receive Bitcoin. So we need to onboard them first, and but it's a process, and we are on it, and I hope we can do that soon. Yeah.
And especially regarding the acceptance of payment, right? We need to be certain that there will not be a double spend. In Bitcoin, we do this with confirmations of blocks containing accumulated proof of work. And this means, though, it takes time, right? To have somewhat of a finality in Bitcoin, you need to wait, as you said, 1 hour. And before that, you are not yet certain that it cannot yet be double spent. However, many stores do accept zero confirmation transactions. So they only check if there has been sufficient fees paid and if the transaction is otherwise valid. And if so, and if they see that this amount of fees being paid should be accepted by a miner, then they accept this transaction as somewhat valid and offer their goods and services. Of course, Lightning is a nice way to hack around this. So we have unconfirmed transactions, but at least the opening transaction is in the blockchain already, with a nice protocol of publishing the closing transaction as well. But still, it is a unspent transaction output. However, I was wondering and asking that Gabriel in the chat beforehand, is there a way of accepting a zero confirmation Lightning channel opening with the same trade-offs as a normal on-chain zero confirmation payment has, but in such a way that the end user, when he walks up to your payment system, he opens the payment channel with the screen and already says that he wants to get the blockchain. He opens the payment channel, you accept the zero confirmation, give him his coffee, and automatically the payment channel is then fully opened and already the first transaction sent. Is something like that possible, a zero conf opening transaction?
Yeah, I actually love your idea. It would really, bring adoption forward. And that is absolutely possible. I mean, all you have to do is basically open a channel and push some amount of the funding transaction already to our side or to the shop's side.
And then you would have to accept zero confirmation.
Exactly.
Transaction.
Exactly.
That depends on the shop.
Yeah.
But for a coffee, I would
that would be worth it to get people onto Lightning, I guess.
Yeah.
So if we lose a coffee once in a while, that's okay. But we have to look into this if we want to build this in our this feature into our system. Certainly, it's very interesting, and we have spent a lot of time to help people setting up their node because it's still not so straightforward yet, and
we are still organizing workshops,
that would help with
and
that.
I think next week we have 2 workshops on Lightning and Lightning.
I don't even know possible.
Yeah, I think the 14th and the 15th. They're available on meetups.
Oh yeah, that's good. We need to scale the Lightning Hack Day, and we need to make sure that there are more devs working on amazing projects, and that they have a platform, right? So good that you're doing that. What is the type of conference that you're organizing there?
It's more like a workshop where we invite people that are curious about Lightning, and we hold a small presentation about what is Lightning, what it can offer, pros and cons, and then we have them set up like an Eclair wallet on testnet. With I think we already had like some wallets prepared with some amounts, so they could open a channel, and by the end of the workshop, they could pay a bloccaccino on the Starblocks shop.
Yeah.
And it was on one of these workshops that we met the owner of Energy Kitchen, that allowed us then to start this project and to get the status of leading technology inside of the company. Like, they wanted to invest in this technology because they saw potential. They saw that there were customers ready to invest in this kind of idea.
Yeah. I think, also something to mention maybe is that it's still difficult to, get green numbers with this Lightning thing to earn as much as we spend for it. I mean, we've just started, right? But what I think what still needs to be seen is that there are other ways in which we get something back as a company. And so one of it, I mean, of course, the whole world is talking about it because, hey, it's Lightning and everybody's excited. So that's good for the company. But also, we have just one new employee, and multiple, but this particular guy, I asked him like why he came to our company, like what was interesting to him, and he told me, and I thought that was very nice, that he was just trying to create his own Lightning node, and he went to some network explorer and he was looking around what nodes there were, and then he saw Puzzle ITC and he thought like, oh wow, they are already doing this stuff, like this Lightning stuff. And that's how we, how we started this whole process and sent us an application, and now he's working with us. And in a time that there are so few developers, and that's really a huge benefit.
So are you doing marketing now on the Lightning network?
On Lightning, yeah.
Yes.
The next big thing.
That's marketing on the blockchain.
Exactly. Before you had to mention blockchain and everybody was like, oh yeah, so fancy. Now it's Lightning. But at least with Lightning, there is something behind, right?
No, it's vaporware, clearly.
Yeah.
Oh, really cool. And one other amazing open source software that is currently or has just been released into a beta is the Wasabi wallet with Chaumian coin joins implemented. And although Adam is not yet working on a Lightning implementation, he says that there might be some nice additions for coin joins utilized in the Lightning opening transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe could you elaborate a bit more on this, on how to make sure that the entrance to the Lightning network is private as well?
That's on my the Wasabi wallet's on my to-do list. I want to look at it. And I think it's on many people's to-do list. And yeah, I mean, the problem is right now, if you open a Lightning channel, you have to do a multi-sig transaction. And it's quite easy to see, okay, this transaction is going to be an opening transaction for a channel. So you know how much money is put on this channel. And
I mean, this transaction is even broadcast to the whole network in case you make a public channel, right? So
yeah, exactly.
It is easy
so
to spot.
Everything is quite public. You don't know then what amounts are being traded, where the money's go, where the bitcoins are going, but it's not private. So if you could have like a private opening transaction that nobody knows that you open the channel and you make the channel private and you don't broadcast the information, it's good for your privacy.
Yeah. I've actually also not looked into. I mean, Wasabi Wallet is huge on privacy, which I really appreciate. I think when it comes to money, it's very important, to not let, to keep your information private. With the CoinJoin, I don't really know how. I haven't looked into it, but basically you could just, instead of a regular funding transaction, you could create a CoinJoin funding transaction in which I think it works like if you create a funding, like a transaction with the output, with the idea to send somebody 1 Bitcoin, then there will be like 4 outputs with 1 Bitcoin, and other people basically also having inputs to the same transaction. So then you cannot really tell who spent which 1 Bitcoin address, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure, but I think that should also work with the same way with Lightning funding transactions. So, yeah.
Yeah, at the end you put everything on a basket in a pool, and then you take out what you want.
Yeah. You said Wasabi is not yet working on Lightning. What I saw in New York and at the Lightning Hack Day, and I really appreciated this, that Electrum, which was the first light wallet, basically, or I'm not sure, maybe even the first wallet besides of Bitcoin Core, but I'm not sure about this one. That they now, as a regular wallet, started really to look into it, and the creator, he said that he really loves Lightning and he wants to get that into his wallet. So I think everything is so fast in the Lightning Network, and it looks like also the old wallets, the known wallets are working on this, and maybe we'll soon have Lightning in our preferred wallet. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I have a lot of fun reading Rothbard, The Economist, and changing the word gold with Bitcoin. And once I did that with What Has the Government Done to Our Money, a nice little essay of his, especially regarding the step of private coinage. I really had this nice idea that a coin, a minted coin, is basically a user interface between the user and the sound money, which are gold atoms. And it makes it usable and easy to use, so you don't have to weigh it every time. You know the purity and the amount of atoms that are in this coin, right? It's a user interface. And I do believe that the same would apply to wallets, software that interfaces the user to the sound money, Bitcoin. And there are different entrepreneurs providing minted coins or, well, pieces of software and hardware so that you can use and manage your Bitcoin. And that would mean that those entrepreneurs that provide the most useful method of interfacing with your sound money are necessarily going to outcompete those that have not as useful services. And because Lightning Network just is a immense useful service on utilizing fast and basically free payments on top of Bitcoin, I do believe that a lot of these entrepreneurs working on wallets will necessarily have to include this option, this feature, or otherwise they will just be outcompeted by other entrepreneurs who are adopting and who are making sure that the interface is as slick as possible. So I would argue that pretty much everyone who is working on wallets should look into this new payment method, of this new way of interfacing with the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Absolutely. And I find it interesting that you bring up the coinage. And I think, coinage was a very big thing and very necessary to, you wouldn't be able to measure the gold and to check it every time you receive money, right? But a big problem with coinage was that what they did, I think especially the Romans were famous for this, I don't know, but they invented the coin clipping, I think it's called. So if you had a coin, some people would just, clip a bit of the coin away, and then you would still say, yeah, it's this coin, with the face on it. It's still the same, but of course, what they did is inflation basically. So with 10 coins, they would be able to create another coin, right? So they would melt all the clip stuff and create an 11th coin. And entry Bitcoin, this problem is solved because we use math and cryptography, and we can prove whether you clipped or not, or in a sense, you cannot clip. So yeah, I think that's.
And it is verified by open source software. So we know exactly what the software is actually doing because we see the source code. Right? So that's why it's so important that all these software, and especially the wallet, is Liquidity open source.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why we do open source. I mean, not only this reason, but it's the most secure. Especially with money, you have to be able to prove what your software does, right? And in fact, we are now still working, of course, on this point of sale, and our next steps, that we're working on is to. So our point of sale is basically a prototype right now, and we are now working on it to make it more mature. So we want to add some testing to it, some unit tests, and some monitoring, and just make it more stable. And yeah, then we hope to see people using it around the world, and yeah, we're excited for this. Let's see. There was one guy who already told us he would like to sell his Lightning-enabled games over our shop. So seems people are interested about this. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there are of course many use cases for Lightning. One is the point of sale system, so buying stuff. Another one that is really interesting is integrating this method of payment into games. So what has been your experience, and what have you seen so far in this ecosystem about cool and interesting games and how they integrate Lightning?
Yeah, so I am not a gamer, so I really don't know so much about this field. At the Lightning Hack Day, though, there was this German guy, I just forgot the name, which is a bit embarrassing, but he created a game where you can play against your watchers, and they can then buy enemies for you. And then if they pay, if they pay some satoshis, there will an enemy will be spawned, and then you have to fight against them. And he thought people would stream how they are gaming, and the watchers can spawn the enemies, which I think I love it, man. What a great idea. Yeah, maybe if so you can find this guy on the talks from the Lightning Hack Day.
Yes.
So he speaks about it there. Yeah, maybe if I find the.
So his name is Konstantin Nick, and
Yeah,
at Sputnik on Twitter, and he's working on the Donner Dungeon, which is a nice name. Donner means lightning, or no, it's not lightning, it's thunder in German.
Exactly, in German, yeah.
And yeah, cool interactive gameplay. And he will come here to the World Crypto Network in a couple days, and we will have a live stream and check out this game on especially the community aspect. Right? How does it affect the community when they all of a sudden can jump into the game and actually manifest change and somehow play with it, right? While still supporting the show and giving a donation. So it's interesting. It's cool.
Yeah. What I also found interesting is I think at the Lightning Hack Day, somebody showed about paying for API use. For every API call, you pay like a couple of satoshis. But I think this goes beyond micropayment, because micropayments you get like a whole something, and this is like nano payment. Like every API call, you pay the amount you have to pay, and that's it. And I read like last year, I don't remember who wrote it, My memory is quite bad. Maybe it's because of the beer. But I read about streaming payments. And my first kind of idea was to make a product or a platform where you could stream either video, audio, music, I don't know, porn, probably, because that sells, and pay for every second you watch or every minute. And that is possible with Lightning, that it's not possible with normal payment systems.
I think so too. I think the most interesting use cases will be the ones that we cannot even imagine yet. So always with Bitcoin, people think about how can we get the old world onto Bitcoin, right? But I'm excited for the new stuff that doesn't exist in our world right now, right? So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do think especially for digital payments. So for a payment completely based in cyberspace. So in exchange, you receive a digital good. For example, a API call, right? So Chris Stewart's from SureBits, he's working on this API stuff. And basically, you give a Lightning payment, and with this Lightning payment, you receive access to 1 second of API streams. And when you stop the payment, well, the streaming stops. And it is quite insane to think that now for every millisecond, basically, you can acquire a digital good and directly pay for it in a trustless and peer-to-peer fashion, which is mind-blowing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this will enable many things. Still, yeah. I don't come up with them myself, though, usually, but let's see what the network will provide. Yeah.
But it's really good to know that dedicated entrepreneurs and developers and coders are in the space to actually manifest change and to make sure that all these cool ideas that we have here are actually being applied. And we have talked now a couple times about the Lightning Hack Day already. And I know that you were involved and also gave a talk. I don't know if Thomas was there as well.
No.
A shame.
I wasn't part of the company.
Yeah, he just started this month, so
Yes.
that was
It was
2
too
days
late.
before or
Yeah,
something.
too late.
Yeah.
Well, at least you have the recordings. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is something.
I watched it live, this presentation.
I would also, by the way, for the guys interested, I would really recommend the recording from Chain Code Labs. So in the same week, they had this Lightning residency. So they taught Lightning to some newcomers, and they are really great. So if you have some time, check these out. Yeah, certainly.
Oh yes, absolutely. They really there is a treasure of information here, so maybe where have you learned about all this Lightning stuff? What are some nice resource pages that you could suggest to the viewers who want to get more educated?
It's difficult.
You go on Twitter and you start following people, and then you follow the people they retweet, and then
yeah. I like this page, alanrout.com or something. lnrout.com. Yeah, exactly. So they have some summary there, and then of course the what was it? Lightning.network? No, like the Lightning devs. No, that's not this one.
Lightning.network and lightning.engineering are some nice good points.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, but I think the best thing is to get in touch with the community. To come on Slack. Alan D has a nice Slack, or Twitter, or maybe even follow bitcoin.stackexchange.com. So ask some questions there if you have any, and people are they answer very quickly and nicely, and so yeah, just be in the space. Things will come to you like automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no lack of information.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, in incumbent systems, people would say, yeah, go to university, get a degree there. And nowadays we just say, yeah, go on Twitter, have fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's also something I find very amazing about this space. All the people are self-taught, and they're self-taught because they think, oh man, this thing is interesting. I want to get my hands on it, right? So this is really the space where you are going to work with people who are excited about what they do, and that just leverages your own excitement. So it's really a great space to work in and to provide.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And the volunteering for open source project is always nice to see.
Mhm.
So yeah, Gabriel, Thomas, we have already talked about a lot. Maybe any last words to sum it up? What are you excited about? What would you like to emphasize?
Well, I'm very excited about what they did in Australia. So there was a spec meeting, I think this week even or last week. Let's see what they came up with there. So stay tuned about this. And for us, follow us on Twitter.
Yes.
And stay tuned. Yeah, we are okay.
Oh man, that's
old school. Paper and pen? What? Why isn't that message encoded in Lightning?
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah. So we will bring lots of amazing things out to the world. So
yeah, I'm really excited about our own self-order point, and just to see where it can go here in Switzerland. We already have lots of people interested in it. I'm going to work in the next month, weeks, years to improve it. And I really hope we get like a nice usable product that we can just start everywhere and use everywhere. Like we use the same code to do the beer tab. So that's already a new use case.
absolutely. We've actually have people who are interested in this very beer tab.
Yes.
So we might install it in other places.
Yeah, we have more people interested in the beer tab than the coffee shop.
Yeah, right. Like you said, or no, there it was this other guy on Twitter. Lightning is not for coffee; it's for beer.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and you have some compelling use cases for it. And slap some beer in it, put a coffee. No blockchain though, so that's kind of boring. But yes, recklessly moving this Bitcoin space to the next way of having a usable method of payment. Fascinating stuff going on, and it really feels like falling the rabbit hole down all over again.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. See you soon.
Oh yeah. See you on the next show, and keep on the building. Bye.
I hope so.
Yeah.